It's Scott, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast review. Going to talk about the 1984 film Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Well, there's a brand new 4K edition out. It's the same 4K that came out a while back, but in a new box, and I thought I would check it out. So at the end of May, May 28th, they released a 40th anniversary edition of Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, in a nice steelbook. It's kind of a midnight blue with stars, and it's embossed. It's actually a very, very nice steelbook. And it was available everywhere, but Walmart had an exclusive version with a poster and a booklet in it, which was the only difference between the two, and they cost the same thing. So I looked on the website for Walmart about the time that this was supposed to come out, and it was completely sold out, has been sold out, and you could never buy one, and I pretty much gave up on it. If I ever saw the steelbook cheap at some point, I'd pick it up. Well, I was at my Walmart the other day, and there it was for the normal price. They had two of them. This was supposed to, been sold out since the end of May. This is July. Anyway, picked up a copy and watched it last night. Really, I'm one of those people that always believe the even number Star Treks were better than the odd numbers, and that's been challenged lately because I watched the 4K edition of the new definitive director's cut of the very first Star Trek the Motion Picture and really enjoyed it. That was a movie that I never hated as much as other people did. I know it's not the most exciting thing, but it's the only one of the Star Trek anythings that's very mature, very adult. There's no toys in it. There's no stuff for the kids. And that did make it drier and not, Anyway, long story short, we're not talking about the first one. Then the second one is most people's favorites because you've got The Wrath of Khan and Harve Bennett did a great job with the movie, and it just turned out great. So you had to understand back in the early 80s, this was about as big as Avengers Endgame. Because if you saw the end of Star Trek II, Spock died at the end of Star Trek II, and Star Trek III was going to be the search for Spock. We knew this pretty early on. So everybody went to the theater to see this. It was just like Endgame, really. Everybody that opening weekend had to go see this movie. You had to know what happened to Spock. Spock was pretty much everybody's favorite character from the original show. I'm a senior in high school. This movie comes out. It's kind of a big deal. We look back now and go, it's a quaint little Star Trek movie because they did bigger and better things later. But I had always remembered it as kind of a layer of thick cheese over it. And rewatching it last night, I didn't think so, actually. So the idea is that the Genesis Project that was introduced in the second movie has created this planet when they shot off the weapon. And this planet is evolving, and at the end of the movie, when they commit Spock's body to space, we see that the photon torpedo tube lands on this planet. It kind of gave you a hint of what was to come. Now, Leonard Nimoy directed this movie, so he's not in it a whole lot. This was at a time he was working on his directing career and doing movies like 3 Men and a Baby. If you didn't know he directed that, he did. He also directed Star Trek IV, which is, at the time, the biggest moneymaker of all of them. But Star Trek III, so he's behind the director's chair and really only has, a couple of scenes at the end, and that's about it. It's the search for Spock, so he could direct the movie. And I got to say, it feels like a Star Trek episode. It feels like what a Star Trek movie should have been. Before they started going further with the comedy and further with the personal stuff and further with the toys. I mean, other than Christopher Lloyd's Kang having a Klingon dog, there's not a whole lot of kiddie stuff in this movie either, and I kind of thought there was. So I'm rewatching it, and it's in 7.1, Dolby True HD, 48K. Sounds great. My 7.1 setup, which can do Dolby Atmos as well, it sounded very good, actually. Not as great as an Atmos or a DTS-X object bass mix would be, but overall, it was fine, especially for a movie that was 40 years old. And as far as the video goes, it looked really good. Still, it looked like a movie. There wasn't a whole lot that jumped out, especially at the beginning. I'm expecting the credits, because the credits, unlike To Live and Die in L.A., which I watched and reviewed the other day, the credits really pop on that 4K because they applied HDR, and the credits were always done with garish colors anyway. Well, the titles for Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, are all in white, and they should be a piercing white, and they're not. But then as soon as you go, like on the Klingon cruiser, There are super duper colors all over the place. They really lit those things interestingly, or at least it looks so now in this new 4K edition. Now, it is my understanding that this 4K disc is the same one that's in the regular edition, so it cost about $5 more to get it in a steelbook. It's a really nice steelbook. I wish they had done one for Star Trek II and even Star Trek 1. Who knows if they're going to do any more? Paramount should release more. I've kind of held off getting the 4Ks because the reviews are just, like 4 out of 5. They're not must-owns, but they're not bad. I picked up the first one because I wanted to see that definitive version. I want to get Star Trek II because it has the director's cut, but I haven't picked up that yet. I was kind of hoping for a steelbook. And then I picked up 3 because I had really given up on it, and I saw it in the store, and I just picked it up. But anyway, the movie actually holds up much better than I remembered. It does very much feel like a Star Trek episode. A lot of the characters get their beats, and it does very well from George Takei to Chekhov, Uhura. Everybody gets a few moments. Obviously, a big part of it is McCoy's character. DeForest Kelley does a great job with McCoy, as he always does. All in all, it's a good little Star Trek movie. And I loved Christopher Lloyd he's kind of a badass Klingon. He's not sugarcoating things. He's like, no, I think I'm going to kill one of these people. Kill one of them. I don't care which one. And they kill one. And that's it. And that's the end of that character. You don't have that a whole lot these days. A bad guy just being that thoroughly ruthless. And he is. I don't really think we needed a Klingon dog. At some point, the dog gets killed during a battle. And so maybe that's to give Christopher Lloyd something else to emote on, because he doesn't have much in this movie to kind of emote on other than being a badass Klingon. But everybody else deals with some loss as well. Kirk gets, a pretty major blow, and William Shatner hams it up like he always does. It is a good Star Trek movie. I really wasn't looking forward to it. I mean, I picked it up because it's a really cool steelbook, and I should have the Star Trek movies in 4K. I love them. I do have all the J.J. Abrams movies in 4K. They look spectacular. But going back to the old ones, anyway. So I was very impressed with one. Star Trek The Motion Picture, this definitive version that's out there, is amazing. And Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, didn't blow me away as a 4K, but it sounds great. It looks great. It's the best the movie's ever looked. It's got some exclusive extras on it, some commentaries with Leonard Nimoy and more. I'd say it's worth picking up, especially if you can pick up that steelbook and you find it for a decent price. So came out at the end of May. I just got my copy because for some reason it finally made it to Alaska and a Walmart. We had 2 of them. I picked one up. Do have quite a few movies in the pipeline on the way, so get ready for more podcasts, and thank you for listening. It's a holiday weekend here in the United States, so happy 4th of July, happy Independence Day. Stay safe, be happy, be well, and enjoy. Thank you for listening.